Before we dive into each of these small towns in Arizona, there's one key thread to pull. Not every town fades the same way. Some are still alive, though barely hanging on. Some look busy from the outside but are fragile within. And some have been dead for years. Only their names remain on the map. Arizona is a land of extremes, harsh deserts, rugged mountains, and punishing distances between towns. The small towns here were born for very specific reasons: mines, railroads, borders, or traffic routes. When those reasons disappeared, these towns didn't slowly adapt. They shrank, froze, and were eventually abandoned. No drama, no heroics, just silence. On paper, Nogales doesn't yet qualify as a dying town. This border city still pulses with US-Mexico trade, truck traffic, logistics hubs, and immigration activity that never really stops. Thousands of people still live here, the downtown still functions, and the border economy gives an impression of bustle. But stay a little longer, and signs of fatigue begin to show. Nogales' biggest issue is its over-reliance on one function, the border. When trade slows, the impact hits jobs immediately. Poverty levels are relatively high, wages are low, and many young people choose to move to Tucson or Phoenix for more stable opportunities. Some areas of town show empty buildings and aging commercial centers, clear signs that new investment is hesitant to come. In truth, Nogales isn't the most dangerous city in Arizona, but property crime and social issues still weigh down its reputation. Douglas is still standing, but standing on tired legs. This border town once thrived as a copper and industry hub, and the echoes of that golden age are still visible in oversized buildings that now feel too big for a shrinking town. Today, Douglas is home to around 15,800 people, a number that slowly declined over the past decade, showing that more are leaving than arriving. Its biggest issue isn't just emptiness, but deeply rooted poverty. About 30% of residents live below the poverty line, more than twice the state average. Median household income is only around $39,000 per year, leaving many families barely scraping by. When the copper industry collapsed, Douglas lost its economic backbone, and border trade has never been strong enough to replace the thousands of jobs that vanished. At first glance, Holbrook seems healthier than many other small towns in Arizona. It still lives off Route 66, old motels, concrete dinosaurs in front yards, and its role as a service center for Navajo County. With a population of around 5,000, Holbrook hasn't collapsed. It even still sees seasonal tourism traffic. But behind all that nostalgic charm, its foundation is shaky. Holbrook's economy is narrow and repetitive. Nostalgia tourism, public services, and low-wage jobs. Median household income is around $62,000, lower than the Arizona average, and per capita income is only about $22,800. More concerning, over 21% of residents live below the poverty line. The main issue is a lack of renewal. Holbrook isn't headed for sudden death, but it's on the classic Route 66 path, surviving off the past while slowly losing its future, Quartzsite. If Holbrook survives on Route 66 nostalgia, Quartzsite survives on seasonal presence. This desert town explodes every winter when thousands of snowbirds and RV nomads arrive, filling up gemstone markets and open parking lots. But once the extreme heat returns, Quartzsite deflates back into a quiet small town. Its permanent population is only around 3,000, and most of its economic activity happens within just a few months each year. Economically, the town is fragile. Median household income is only about $24,000 per year, one of the lowest in Arizona. Around 26.5% of residents live below the poverty line, reflecting a reliance on low-wage seasonal work. Quartzsite hasn't collapsed, but it was never built for the long haul. Meanwhile, Gila Bend survives through function, not appeal. This town continues to exist as a stopover along the highway, a place where people refuel, grab fast food, and move on. With a population of around 1,900 to 2,000, Gila Bend feels busy at a glance, but rarely truly crowded. The issue lies in quality of life, not just the presence of people. Median household income ranges between $33,000 and $35,000 per year, far below Arizona's average. About 30% of the population lives below the poverty line, indicating a fragile, low-wage local economy. Jobs are limited to basic services, government facilities, and small-scale logistics, with no long-term economic backbone. Add in the extreme heat, geographic isolation, and lack of opportunities for younger generations, and Gila Bend struggles to attract new residents. Mammoth survives out of habit. The town no longer has a clear economic engine, but it hasn't completely fallen apart either. This former mining town is now home to around 1,800 to 1,900 people, a number that feels stagnant, not growing, but not vanishing. During the day, Mammoth appears just alive enough. Economic pressure shows in the cold numbers. Median household income is about $38,000 per year, well below Arizona's standard, while over 20% of the population lives below the poverty line. The mine that once fueled the town has long been closed, and nothing has truly replaced it. Many residents survive on local service jobs or commute out of town to earn a living. Mammoth isn't a ghost town yet, but it's already showing signs of losing direction. Winkelman continues to exist on the remnants of dependence. This small town at the confluence of the Gila and San Pedro rivers has long stood on a fragile foundation, the copper industry. Today, Winkelman is home to around 300 to 350 residents, a small number even by rural standards, and shows almost no signs of growth. Economically, the situation is tough. Median household income hovers around $35,000 per year, while the poverty rate is estimated to be over 25%. Winkelman also faces structural issues. Its remote location, extreme heat, and lack of new investment. There's no real downtown, no draw for the younger generation. The town isn't completely empty yet, but socially and economically, Winkelman is already in the early stages of becoming a ghost town. Then there's Hayden, fragile under the weight of its own industrial legacy. This small town was born in the early 20th century as a copper smelter town, built to support the nearby Ray mine. For decades, the towering smokestack wasn't just a symbol of prosperity, it was the town's entire reason for being. But as the copper industry declined, Hayden shrank along with it. Its population is now down to around 500 to 600 people. Hayden's problems go beyond economics. They're environmental too. For years, the smelter operations released arsenic, lead, and sulfur dioxide, contaminating the air and soil. The federal government had to step in for land cleanup and emissions control, a fact that still sticks to the town's image. Median household income sits in the $30,000 range, and about 1/3 of residents live below the poverty line. After Hayden, which remains tied to its industrial past, Salome presents another face of decline, a town slowly shrinking because it never truly grew. Located in remote La Paz County, Salome has a population of around 1,600 people, a number that's barely changed, not because it's stable, but because inflow and outflow are equally minimal. The town feels quiet, but it's a stillness that borders on stagnation. Economically, Salome is fragile. Median household income ranges between $34,000 and $36,000 per year, far below Arizona's average, while roughly 1/4 of the population lives below the poverty line. Job opportunities are limited to local services, small-scale farming, and seasonal work. Many working-age residents choose to leave for bigger cities, leaving behind an aging population. Ehrenberg has nearly disappeared due to a loss of purpose. This small town on the banks of the Colorado River was once important, a crossing point and stopover along river trade routes and rail lines. But when transportation shifted and the main routes moved elsewhere, Ehrenberg was left behind by the very flow that once sustained it. Today, only a few hundred people remain, scattered thinly across an area that no longer has a true town center. Economically, Ehrenberg has almost no structure. There's no major industry, no active business district, and local job opportunities are nearly non-existent. Many homes are temporary or spread out, making the community feel more like the remnants of a settlement than a living town. Social life is minimal, services are scarce, and young people are nearly absent. Ehrenberg isn't slowly collapsing. It has already passed that stage. If Ehrenberg nearly vanished from losing its function, Sasabe is fading away from being cut off entirely. Located on the Arizona-Mexico border, Sasabe once lived as a small border post and ranching community. Today, its population is estimated at under 100 people, scattered across remote homes that feel more like outposts than a town. Its biggest blow came when the Sasabe border crossing closed in 2020. Since then, the town's only real economic reason for existing has disappeared. There is no town center, no market, and almost no local jobs. Socially, Sasabe is nearly silent. Schools, healthcare, and public services are extremely limited. Sasabe isn't a classic ghost town with crumbling buildings. It's a place that is fading because it's been abandoned by the system. Meanwhile, Crown King is isolated by both geography and a romance with the past. This mountain town was born from the gold rush of the late 19th century, and unlike many other mining towns, it never completely died, only shrank. Today, Crown King is home to fewer than 150 permanent residents, most of whom live scattered throughout the forest along rough dirt roads. Crown King survives on weekend tourism, off-road visitors, and nostalgia for the old mining town days. But this is not a stable economy. There are no sustainable jobs, no real commercial center, and basic services are very limited. The main issue is long-term viability. On the list of towns on the verge of being abandoned, Crown King sits in a fragile stage, alive because of love for the past, not because of any promise for the future. Two Guns survives only as a story. Located along Route 66, this small town no longer has any residents. What remains are ruins, desert winds, and legends. Two Guns once thrived on roadside tourism, a small zoo, and seasonal trade. But when Route 66 was abandoned and the modern highway rerouted, the heartbeat of this town stopped instantly. There is no permanent population, no economy, and no future being negotiated. Crumbling stone buildings, an abandoned motel, and an old bridge stand as witnesses to how this town died not because of disaster, but because it lost the flow of people. Two Guns is often called the most haunted ghost town in Arizona, not for its myths, but for its absolute silence. In the order of these towns, Two Guns marks the point where the process of being abandoned is entirely complete. If Two Guns is a quiet ending, Fairbank is a preserved one. This small town once lived off the railroad and the San Pedro River, becoming a key trading hub in southeastern Arizona in the late 19th century. When the railway was rerouted and its logistics role disappeared, Fairbank lost its reason to exist. Its people left, one by one, without drama. Today, Fairbank has no permanent residents. What remains are historic buildings, an old hotel, a store, and a post office, standing neatly as if waiting for people who will never return. Fairbank doesn't fall into the category of towns that will be abandoned. It's already past that phase. It is the final marker on this list, a town that stopped living not because it failed to survive, but because the world around it moved on and never looked back. Ruby is a town that was simply left behind. Isolated in southern Arizona, Ruby once thrived on silver, lead, and zinc mining in the early 20th century. At its peak, hundreds of people lived here. There was a school, a store, a post office, and a small lake at the heart of life. Then the mine closed, and the town stopped, almost without transition. Today, Ruby has no permanent residents. The wooden homes and mine buildings still stand, some decaying, some looking like they were left just yesterday. There is no economy, no services, no community left, only caretakers and the occasional visitor. Extreme isolation makes Ruby impossible to revive. Too far, too quiet, too late. On the journey from towns that are still hanging on to those completely gone, Ruby is the absolute end point. It's not a town that will be abandoned. It is a town that is done. A reminder that when the sole reason for a town's existence disappears, there isn't always a next chapter.